Woohoo! It's Story of the Month time. We missed the last Story of the Month episode because at that time, episode 59, it was time to tell you about the new brand where Intentional Documentary will be hosted moving forward, Dangerously Good Stories. So I am so glad to be back to the Story of the Month in this episode because these little episodes are strong little nuggets, aren't they? Today I'm sharing one of my own stories, which I actually think is a first for this series. I could be mistaken, but I have been pulling from other people's stories, and I think this is the first time I'm sharing one of my own. You can see the photo that went along with this story over at dangerouslygoodstories.com/064. I'm telling you about a little story I like to call Monkey Up. Enjoy the story. When I do speaking engagements, I play a game with this photo. So if you want to play along with me, go to dangerouslygoodstories.com/064. Man, did you hear my little stutter there? It's really hard to get used to not saying fearless and framed. So yeah, go to dangerouslygoodstories.com/064 and look at the photo. I would ask my audience, what do you see? So ask that of yourself. What do you see when you look at this photo? So if you want to play along, pause now, go check it out. Okay, moving on. Always, without fail, the audience would respond with words like laughter, affection, connection, and love. That's what they would see, that's what they would feel from that photo. But the story is so much more than those words. The story is something you, as a viewer, would never, ever in a million years see from the photograph if you didn't have my words with it. And honestly, I don't think I could have done anything different as a photographer for you to actually know the story behind that photo. And I wanted to point that out to you because I know so many of you are putting so much focus on making sure that all of your photos are crystal clear and readable to your viewer. But this is just one of those stories that the whole world is not going to understand, no matter how good the photo is. So here's the story. My daughter Kendall was about 16 months old when we bought our house in Michigan that we thought was going to be our forever home. So in case you didn't know, I live in South Carolina now. So Kendall was in a crib at that time, and when she'd wake up, she would call out for me and patiently wait. She'd always greet me with a big smile and with her little head and little neck reaching way out of her bed to see me at the first possible second that I came up the stairs. I actually have a photo of that too, so I added that in the show notes for fun. Pretty quickly after moving in, we removed the crib rail so she was in a toddler bed. There was like one of those mesh guard things or whatever. But the funny thing was even though she had free range, she'd never get out of the bed when she woke up. She'd still wake up, sit there, call out for me, and patiently wait. So I'd go into her room and I'd grab her by the hand, sometimes pick her up, and we'd walk to the top of the stairs. And usually she would walk behind me. She would follow me. And she hadn't had any stair practice yet, so I'd carry her down. But I have to slow down the story for you here so that you can really understand the sweetness in this routine. When we'd get to the top of the stairs coming from her bedroom, she'd wait at the top while I stepped down a couple steps, and then I'd turn around and I'd scoop her up off the ground. I mean, she was standing, so I just put my arm around her and pick her up the way a parent does, and down the stairs we went. Well, one day, I noticed she was getting longer. Her little arms and little legs were reaching around me further than they had ever before, and the thought, I don't know why, but just out of the blue, the thought of a baby monkey or a baby gorilla on its mama's back, the way that they cling on as mom moves all around, just popped into my head. And so I went down a couple steps and had turned to scoop her up the next time, and I said, "Monkey up," and she leaped up into my arms the way she always did, and I said, "You're like a little monkey. What does a monkey say?" And she replied, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ah." And from that moment on, we did that every day. multiple times a day, actually. I don't remember the last time we did that. I think it's just one of those things that just suddenly stopped and we didn't even notice. But I was fortunate to get a photograph that triggers that whole memory. I got the photograph when my parents were visiting and my mom came up the stairs to get Kendall with me after a nap. I had shared the story with my mom as Kendall monkeyed up onto my mom, and I said, "Kendall, what does a monkey say?" And she replied with a big smile to my mom, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ah." As I tried to find the words to describe how this story impacted me, tears just filled my eyes. So my photograph, what's funny about it is that it's not me and Kendall, which that story was more about me and Kendall than it was about my mom and Kendall. But it doesn't even matter. That photograph, it triggers the whole story for me. And it's not even a great photograph. I could have framed it better. My mom's face is like almost completely cut off. And if you looked at it, you can see there's a lot of improvement that it could have had. But it doesn't matter. It stirs up that whole story that could have otherwise been lost. It wasn't like her birth or her first birthday or, you know what I mean? Like there's some memories that stick and some memories that just don't. And this easily could have slipped through the cracks because it was such a subtle part of our days. And it didn't really last that long. I would say a few months at most. So like I said, as I was trying to come up with words to describe how this story impacted me, I really was overwhelmed with emotion and thought through it. This story was me witnessing this tiny girl that I love so fiercely have complete trust in me. She trusted that when she'd call out to me when she was alone, that I would come. She trusted that I wasn't turning my back to leave her when I'd go down those couple of steps, and that I would go down a couple of steps and I'd turn around to scoop her up. And when she leapt into my arms, she trusted that I wasn't going to let her fall. And as her mom, man, I hope that she always trusts me this deeply and unguarded. So yeah, when you look at it on the surface, this photograph is about affection and love and connection and all of those words. But honestly, those words feel like they are downplaying the story. It's not this one-off moment of love. It's a full, whole, tangible story we lived out over a period of time. A story that not only shaped our relationship, but it had already aged in my heart before the photo was even made. And I think that is the secret sauce to this photo, is that it goes back to that saying that I say all the time: instead of documenting to remember, try documenting from memory. So my question and challenge to you today is, what stories have aged in your heart that you're still living out today, where there's still an opportunity for you to record it? And then, for the love of all the good in your life, go preserve that in some way. Savor it and then preserve it. And to go the extra step, write about it. Tell the story. If you think documenting is therapeutic, expressing the story is nothing short of cathartic. Visit the show notes, dangerouslygoodstories.com/064 to see the 2 photos that I talked about today. Read the written question and challenge that I had for you here at the end, your challenge for the week, and swoon from the cuteness of a few real monkeys on their mama's backs that I had to add in just for kicks. I'll talk to you next week where I share some of the fears I have on life, on business, as a mom, and more. Stay awake for your stories. I'll talk to you soon.